So year 2023 saw multiple headwinds in the tech industry globally, resulting very subdued hiring in the tech sector, in the Americas, in Europe, India, everywhere. There were multiple factors which actually affected the general sentiments in the tech industry and also the overall hiring. This was due to the global supply chain resetting. It's about the war, as well as the interest rate being very expensive in the US, making credit expensive for the consumer. That brought the overall demand in the down in the market. That all resulted in an economy slowing down. So it was a very challenging year. And India's tech industry is almost $245 billion. And 60% of that comes from US alone. So as they say, America sneezes, the world catches the cold, and that's true for Indian tech industry as well, indirectly also affecting the tech hiring in India. Hi, my name is Shambhu Agrawal. I'm the founder of IndiHire. We are a leadership hiring, RPO and recruiting company. Today, I have the privilege of speaking to Mr. Swapnil Jain. Just a brief intro about Swapnil. He's an IIT Delhi computer science graduate. Soon after his graduation, he moved to US to work for Twitter for about 3 years. Then he was really wanted to think about what he has to do next. And after about a year, he co-founded a company in 2017, which is at the heart of revolutionizing contact center industry by applying AI. A little bit about his startup company, Observe AI. So Observe AI is a Gartner top 25 enterprise software startups. It is the America's most promising artificial intelligence companies in the top 50. And what Observe AI does is it actually captures the customer interactions, takes the audio clips, converts them into text, and then produce marvelous analytics for the customer contact agent to take decisions on the spot about how to have customer interactions, thereby impacting the profitability and the revenues of the companies where this AI technology is started. So that's about Observe AI. So Swapnil, a very warm welcome and thank you so much for your time. A little bit about yourself you'd like to cover.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. Shambhu, really appreciate it. As you said, I'm Swapnil. I'm one of the founders and the CEO of Observe.ai. Born and raised in Madhya Pradesh, went to IIT Delhi, then moved to US to work at Twitter, and then started Observe in 2017. So now I live in Bay Area, but we have a big office in Bangalore, and I keep coming here to spend time. So glad to be here and nice to meet you.
Yeah, so thank you very much. So Swapnil, you have been running this company from the heart of Silicon Valley. It's been 6 years, and you have seen this company grow to 250 people today with the state-of-the-art facility and with one of the best talents that work for you in Redwood City as well as in Bangalore.
Yep.
What have been your leadership values? What has been your mantras, to carry forward, such a intense subject and some technology which is going to revolutionize the whole world?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think, one of the key principles that we look at Observe is, I'll talk about the startup and then I'll come to my leadership principles. But from a company perspective, one of the key things we look for is the market size, right? We always wanted to build a company in a market where you can build a very large business, right? By market, I mean, how many companies you can sell to, how much they will pay for you, what's the spending power and so on, right? So that dictates kind of what we call a TAM, a target addressable market, or total addressable market, right? So, when we started Observe, we really wanted to pick a large TAM. And that's where we decided that we'll go with contact centers, right? Contact center is a very large market, 17 million agents globally. Our total spend of the contact center, including humans and technology, is about $400 million globally, right? So it's a very large market. So we know that if we keep doing well, keep scaling well, we can build a very large business, right? So that's sort of like, one of the key principles that we use from a startup perspective. From a leadership perspective, right, the things we look at, we have 5 core values that we look for in every single individual, right? And a lot of them comes from just my personal background, right? So I'm born, middle-class Indian family, right? Father's a businessman, joint family, a small town, it's called Vidisha in Madhya Pradesh, right? So that's sort of like where I come from. So I've seen that hustle and grittiness, right, from day one.
Absolutely.
Right. And then the other part that formed a big part of our values comes from my background in engineering, right? So I'm an engineer. I love problem solving, right? So that basically means I try to be very logical, analytical, reasoning based, right? So there are 5 core values that really describe every single observe. Number one, which is very close to me, is grit, right? Grit and perseverance. We really believe in that. We think that you can never be very successful. You can never build something of value if you're not gritty. Right?
Absolutely.
And that takes time, that takes perseverance, right? So that's like very foundation to who we are. Agility is a second value, which is, we're in a very, very evolving market. AI is changing every day. We have to be agile. We have to adapt to our customers' needs and technology needs, right? Third is ownership, right? We're a startup. We won't succeed if our employees act like employees, right? We want every employee to act like an owner, right? Where you own things, you own what you're doing, projects, deliverables, outcomes, right? Fourth being customer first, right? So we really believe that, as we won't be like a large company if we are not building for a customer, right? So, and it's sometimes very hard for engineers to be customer first. So we have made sure that that our people are customer first, right? And the fifth value is we, which basically means we're one team, and we lose as a team, we win as a team, right? So we don't like creating different silos. We all come together to solve customer problems.
Absolutely wonderful. So this is grit, agility, ownership, customer focus, and concept of we.
Yeah.
And I wanted to just add a very small thing, but very, very big impact about Swapnil. So while building up Observe AI, Swapnil visited many contact centers, spent a lot of time with the agents on the floor. And he observed the pain, he understood how it works and everything. And, and that's where he took a lot of insights. And that's how he built a beautiful company, which is Observe AI. And we will not be surprised that this becomes one of the top performing AI companies in America very soon. And if I may say, mitti se juda hua. For the audience who don't understand Hindi, it's like being connected to the roots. And that's about Swapnil, and that's about his leadership skills. And he talked about his background, humble background, and the values that he's applying is on day-to-day work at Observe while he's building a great product. So, Swapnil, just to move forward, 2023 saw a lot of layoffs happening, a lot of challenges. In general, what did you see? You have always worked in the US. You've never been in India. And from day one. And you must have traveled a lot, interacted with the best brains in the Silicon Valley, in the West Coast, East Coast, everywhere. So, 2023, what was in general there in the US?
Yeah, I mean, 2023 was a big correction year, right? So you spoke about interest rate in the beginning, right? So 2021 was the year where many companies raised a lot of money, right, at very, very high valuations, right? Valuations that, technically don't deserve, right? But because there was the interest rate, there was zero interest rate, which basically means money is very cheap. Everyone got the money, and which meant like everyone started hiring a lot. So 2021 was the year where everyone thought money is free. Let's keep spending, let's keep hiring, right? So there was a lot of over hiring that happened in 2021, right? Now come 2022, second half of 2022 and 2023, right? Interest rates started to go up, right? For all the reasons you spoke about, right? Inflation was high, there's war happening, spending is going up. So now interest rates started coming, which means that money got expensive, right? So now there was a big correction year. I would say starting second half of 2022, going into all of 2023, where a lot of these startups, right, started realizing, startups often hire for the projected growth, right? I'll hire 20 people right now because I'm expecting growth in the next quarter and the quarter after, right?
Right.
Now I've hired these 20 people, but the growth didn't happen. Right? So a lot of correction was done to actually reduce the workforce, right? So as you said, layoffs. So there was layoffs, I would say, practically everywhere in every company that we know of, right? We are doing layoffs, reducing their headcount. And this was a correction time because they had overhired, so they were kind of reducing that, right? Now, along with that meant like if they're reducing the headcount, they're not hiring.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we didn't see a lot of hiring happen either, right? So it quickly became, I would say, from in 2021, it was a employees market, right, to start shifting to become an employer market, right? Because hey, there's not many people hiring, there's not too many jobs out there, right? So we saw some of that happen in 2023.
So Swapnil, it was all euphoria which started building up just after 2020. 21 saw like staggering valuation.
Yeah.
And a lot of overhiring, as you said, projected growth. People overhired. So it was basically a reset year.
It was. It absolutely was.
And I think that journey that most of the startups and the global tech giants in the US, they started optimizing their
spend and
headcount and everything. And that's what, they had to go through this painful process of layoffs. And, and that obviously that impacted the overall hiring sentiment.
It did very much so. Right?
Right.
Like, I mean, not just startups, as you mentioned, like very large enterprises,
Right.
including Amazon, Google, everyone did layoffs, right? Everyone did make the same mistake.
So now, as 2024 has just set in, we are just beginning in January.
Yeah.
And this year also is a big year for US because they are going to go into elections.
Yes, they are.
And the Fed has actually took a pause at the interest rate.
Correct.
And last night we were all expecting that there will be a rate cut. Announced that when will it happen?
Yeah.
But he kept mum. So I think it's not going to happen in March. So US market corrected last night.
Yeah.
So in 2024, what do you see, Swapnil, how things are going to unfold? You are on the ground, you are on the soul, you interact with so many people all around. It will be very good for audience to understand.
Yeah. So I think, I'm using the word cautiously optimistic about 2024, right? I don't think I'm optimistic without caution, right? There's still a lot of headwinds, as you said. Interest rates have not come down, right? There was an expectation built into the valuations in the market that interest rates are going to come down this year, right? But as you said, interest rate didn't come down. Well, at least for the first quarter, right? Hopefully in the next couple of quarters, they do come down, right? It's an election year, right? That in general brings a lot of uncertainty into the market. There's still, a war going on, right? So there's a lot of uncertainty because of that. So overall, I feel like, is this going to be a better year than 2023? Yes. But I don't think this is going to be like 2021 or 2022. For that matter, there might never be another 2021, right? So I feel like there will be hiring this year, there will be growth this year, but I'm not expecting a lot, right? I'm expecting, more caution. People are still cautious because the markets have not opened up yet, right? Like, when we sell to our customers, the sales cycles are still long. People are taking more time. There's a lot of scrutiny on budgets. So it's going to take some time before market is fully back up. And 2024, you will see some size, but I don't think it's a sign where everything is going to be back up.
Very. And Swapnil, within the tech sector, AI is the bright star. It's a new technology. Everybody is discovering. We are applying in various phases of our life.
Yeah.
Now you are a company, you are a leader in AI. From an AI perspective, the whole 2024, if you look at other startups in AI in the US, and a lot of them having their innovation centers in India as well. What is your take there, especially with AI?
Yeah, that's a good point, right? So you can segment the market into like AI and non-AI companies, right? And AI companies, I'm expecting more growth than regular companies, right? Like because there's a lot of investment, upfront investment in AI, right? And that requires, and there'll be more investment in R&D than go to market, right? Because there's a lot of building here. Right? So there'll be a lot of like machine learning hiring, people who know LLM, people who know natural language, people, those kind of technologies, right? So there's going to be a boom in that hiring profile, right? And people building it out. And then, next year we will see once these systems are built, once these capabilities are built, we'll see more hiring in go-to-market side, right? But you're absolutely right. Like AI companies will continue to hire and continue to grow, right? So for all the AI talent, and this still continues to be a pretty hot market, right?
So there we can see a lot hiring going on.
Yeah, for sure.
I was seeing one of the videos of Mr. Andy, who is invested in your company.
Yeah.
And he talked about three things, which is the addressable market of $400 billion.
Yeah.
Then he looked at the team. And then he said the whole AI application into the revolutionizing the contact center industry. So that's really great. I mean, they all connecting. So just picking up a very, very important a point from Swapnil is cautiously optimistic during 2024. It's not going to be a euphoria that things will happen. Let things settle. Let the interest rate cool down. Let the elections happen. Let the new government come. And they take their steps. But, that is for the whole tech industry in general. But if you look at AI as a standalone, it's a bright star.
It is.
There will be a lot. And Swapnil, you see a lot of investment happening in AI. a lot of them.
Well, it's the hottest. I mean, it's the biggest sector where VC investments are happening, right? You still see high valuations, right? But they're all because the technology is great and it has a lot of value, right? So, I see both things. I see a lot of hiring happening in the AI space. We are hiring a lot, right? And you do see a lot of investments happening in this space, right? So I feel like, if you look at 2024, while the rest of the industry, will be more cautionary, the AI industry will just keep booming significantly. Yeah.
I see. And, there are a lot of technological advancements are happening, which is impacting the overall demand for tech talent. I keep talking to tech leaders in Seattle, in San Jose, in SFO, and I get to know that AI is going to write a lot of code. And a lot of, the frontline coders with 2-3 years experience, the robots will write the codes. So do you think that these technological advancements will affect the demand for tech talent, especially at the entry level?
I think we are early in that journey. I don't think we've reached a point where you can say, hey, you know what, let me not hire people because I can use AI, right? Could it happen, maybe in 5 years, 10 years, right? But right now where we stand, AI is more assisting versus automating, right? So, what AI does today, I think you spoke about AI writing code, right? It's basically as an engineer and Copilot, and GitHub Copilot is a great example of that. It basically augments the engineer to write code, detect issues in their code and so on, right? So I think where we stand right now, it is meant to help engineers be more productive, right, and be more efficient than what they do. It is not at a point where you can think like, okay, let me not hire these 2 people, right? Now, over time, as engineers become more productive and, they can do more in less, right? Then, as that settles down, it could lead to a place where you need less engineers, right? But we are pretty far away from that reality.
It's more like a co-pilot.
It is
assisting. So AI is not going to replace the human ingenuity. So be aware.
Over time, maybe, but I mean, we're far away from
that. Your company, Observe AI, has 30 billion parameters. And that is 3,000 crores parameters. That's huge.
Yeah.
Now, so that's going to bring so much of value to all the contact centers in the world. By applying your technology, they can have much better interaction.
Yeah.
So do you think this technology will also further evolve from here?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. As I said, it's a very fast evolving space, right? So AI is constantly evolving. We have our own large language model, as I said, a 30 million parameter. 30 million was when we launched, it's now 40 million parameter, right? Wow. Basically continuously making it better and richer, right? And it is powering a lot of applications right now in contact center with we have an agent assist application which guides the agent, provides recommendations, suggestions, provides knowledge to them, automates their summarization of the call and a bunch of those things, right? But as the LLM gets better and as we get more feedback from the agent interaction, right? I do imagine it taking more and more use cases in the contact center, right? Like, could it take like simpler conversations, right? So can we build a feature where, you call your bank, you actually talk to our machine, right? And then the machine does some part of the job and then hands over to the agent to do the rest of the job, right? Yeah. So yes, that's the point of this technology that's going to keep getting better and better, and we'll go into more use cases.
Right. So, startups like Observe AI and many of them obviously bring a lot of jobs to the tech talent. But the one major segment is the large tech companies. You have Amazons of the world, Google, Meta, Microsoft. Now, in the valley that you are based, there, what do you see in 2024? Would you have some observation that how they're going to...
It's going to be a slow year. It's going to be a cautious year. Yeah, it's not going to be a year. I mean, I don't know if you know, right? Like, January has not been great so far, right? Like, I think Google announced layoffs. PayPal announced a layoff. There's a company called Square, which announced layoff, right? So it has not started as good as, we would have wanted or we would have thought, right? So same applies to Amazon or Google or, Microsoft for that matter, right? So Meta, right? So I do expect a slower year, cautionary, right? That being said, is Meta hiring a lot in AI, Amazon is hiring a lot in AI, right? So AI investments have been growing, but rest of the investments are cutting down.
So it's all about optimizing the headcount that they have. And these layoffs are not that anything has changed. It's just that a lot of over hiring happened in the US. And, and they had to reset. That's how the whole thing happened. And Swapnil, I have been watching the quarterly results of large tech companies last couple of days. There are two of them scheduled today as well. So, these results have not been good, and Nasdaq has not given a salute to them with.
No one has gotten a salute recently from Nasdaq.
Yeah.
Everyone's gotten a meeting.
Yeah, so I think the cautious, thing is there. I think we should all be prepared for 2024 to be cautiously optimistic. Now, moving forward, do you like we talked about PayPal, we talked about Meta and others. They have done some layoffs. Most of the big patches of layoffs happened in 2023, which was last year. Now, this year, would you see these kind of big things?
No,
not really. It's almost done.
Yeah, so the corrections is done. So we're not going to see major corrections, but what you will see is just like slow growth. So hiring will be slow and then growth will be slow. But I'm not expecting too many corrections. A lot of corrections happened already in 2022.
Right. And Swapnil, India is in sweet spot. We have a large, talent base, tech talent.
Yeah.
They are equally good, if not better.
Yeah.
And do you see that a lot more work will be offshore to India?
So I don't like using the word offshore because offshore makes it sound like, India's a back office and, the side work is happening, right? But if you look at if you go 10 years ago, maybe, right, when you look at the IT services company, look at people like in TCS, Infosys, and so on, that world is the offshore world, right? Where someone like a Bank of America or a JP Morgan Chase is giving work back to India, right? And it's a back office, technically, right? It's an offshore office, right? But what you're seeing right now is India and Bangalore and all these cities, right, are basically the main centers for a lot of companies. Right? Observe is a great example. We do 100% of our engineering, product development, machine learning, R&D, all from India, right? Companies like Rippling, companies like Stripe, Slack, Coinbase are all building huge centers here. It's not offshoring, right? It is not like I'm outsourcing to someone. It's the core work that's happening here, right? So the short answer is yes, I expect more of that because two reasons, right? One is India has a talent, right? Not many countries has the kind of talent that India has, so that's a great thing to be proud of, right? And then second, the reality is if it's a cautious year, if people are just being cautious, right, they're optimizing for spend, and India does give them that advantage, right? That the gap is reducing over time, right? But there's still a gap, right? So people are also taking advantage of that right now.
Right. So I stand corrected. No more offshoring, and it's directly coming from the leader. That he looks at India as if his team is sitting next cabin for him. It just happens to be a different time zone.
Yeah.
And, and it's great. And I think that's really giving a lot of opportunities to talent in India to do cutting edge work.
Yeah.
And bring a lot of innovations at the forefront, which can be applied globally.
Yep.
So great. Talent is a very complex subject and it's most delicate as well. What kind of a stress do you feel when you have to hire talent for yourself?
It's hard. I mean, it's very hard, right? You want to maintain a high bar. You want to align people to culture values, right? And the cost of one wrong hire, right? I often feel like when you're looking at talent, right, there's no good or bad talent. It's like a fit talent, right? Like, someone who might succeed really well at Observe might not succeed somewhere else, or the other way, right? Someone might not do well at some other company, but comes at Observe and does really, really well, right? So it's a fit, right? So I think the biggest job that we have is aligning to our culture and values. Like, do we see this person sitting in, gelling well with us, contributing to, as I said, our 5 core values, or can we imagine this person being gritty, this person is agile or not, right? Things of that nature. And then on the competency side, like we at Observe, we have a very high bar, right? We have a pretty, sophisticated process where everyone goes through a process, through an evaluation, right? Where our existing team members interview, right? So it is we have our own mechanisms to make sure we get the right people who fit our culture and values. The cost is very high, right? You get one person wrong, right? It obviously impacts them. It impacts the company. And honestly, I've seen when there's someone who's not fitting well in the organization, right? The team is also impacted, right? So the cost is very high of a wrong hire. So you have to be, really careful with who you bring in the organization. And then once you bring them, I think onboarding also plays a big role, right? The first 30 days, as we talk about, they're malleable, right? In the first 30 days. So can you align them to what your core values are and what you expect them, and then take off, right? I feel like in 30 to 60 days, you will know if someone is going to work out or not very quickly, right? So
it's a little bit of a stress, but a lot more fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's fun, but yeah. I mean, startup is very stressful in general, right? But it's a fun journey.
No, absolutely. And, any lessons, Swapnil, being a tech leader in the hottest space of observe AI, and which is artificial intelligence for contact center. Any lessons you want to share for the tech talent,
Yeah.
which is aspiring to build a career in the AI space?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think, I keep even telling this to Observe employees as well, right, all the time, which is, you will be far, far more successful at Observe, or for that matter, any other startup, right, when you have a very high ownership mindset, right? I feel, especially junior people sometimes get stuck into, promotion and salary in the early days, right? Early on, my mentor taught me, right, that knowledge and network have a very compounding value, right? You might think like, okay, I learned something, or what's the ROI? I'm not getting paid more today, right? Or like, hey, I met someone, but what is the value of that, right? Like, you often think very short term, saying, okay, I'm making this much money, I'm making that much money, right? But if you look at long term path for yourself, right? Like the value comes from how much knowledge you have amassed and your network, right? And that usually happens in the second half of your career, right? So the my mentor told me, like, optimize the first half of your career in learning as much as you can, owning as much as you can, building relationships and connections as much as you can, right? And the second half of your career will automatically reward you for that, right? But if you do it the other way, then you will be stuck in a linear path, right? Where you're just optimizing for the short-term gains, right? So what I recommend everyone is, like, come with a mindset where, hey, you do great, right? You keep scaling, you keep growing, you hustle, and then good things happen, right? If you do it the other way, like, if you try to necessarily chase the good things and you don't like do the basic traits, then you miss out, right? There's a saying, like, a lot of startups come to me and say, hey, what do we need to raise money? And I tell them, just be a good company. Like, money will happen. Right?
Absolutely.
So a lot of people just go to the wrong thing. It's like, oh, how do I make more money? Well, you become a great engineer, you will make more money, right? Like, how do I get a promotion? Well, you do great, right? Like, why people optimize, people try to hack things, right? And I'm like, it's very short-term thinking. You need compounding benefits. Like, the biggest things in life come from compounding, not from linear methods, right?
Yeah, so I can clearly see the future of talent working at Observe AI very, very secure in the hands of such a great leader. His fourth value talks about ownership, and that's where he is saying that first half of your career, have learner's mindset.
Yeah.
And one very, very important thing that he discussed and shared, which I'm going to also take with me, is knowledge and networking have compounding effect. And I was reading one of the recommendations written for Joe, who's your coach. Did I get his name right?
Yeah, Joe.
Joe. And, so you yourself being so aware that when you are founding your company, and as such a busy founder of a company, and getting to the minute details of how to hire, how to build culture, and having a coach which is guiding, and these nuggets coming like knowledge and networking have compounding effect. This is wonderful, subtle, and this really, we look for a lot of leadership lessons from Mandela, from Mahatma Gandhi, and from Martin Luther King. We have young founder who is 33 years old from our IIT Delhi Computer Science, and so much to learn, Swapnil. So it's really great. And my last question is about, while you are building Observe AI, you have 250 people. How important for you is culture? People. Like you talked about leadership values in the beginning.
Yeah.
So anything you like to share there?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think culture and people are the foundation of almost everything that you do, right? I think people attack when there's a problem, right? Like, people often think, the problem lies in, oh, we didn't have this process and we don't have this, right? Like, you often go back to saying it's a mindset problem, it's a culture problem, or a people problem, like everything that you can think of in your business, right? And when I think of, my role as a CEO, like, what are the biggest things that I could do, right? I think the biggest leverage I have on the business is getting the right people. And once I get the right people, like, again, I have this compounding thing, right? They have so much leverage that they will then, if I get like an A+ exec team, right, then they will hire A+ managers and then A+ engineers, and automatically good things happen, right? if I get one wrong, if I get a B minus exec, right, then they will have C minus directors, and then I'll have D minus engineers, right, and then now I'm basically done, right? So there is tremendous amount of value, and I would say I shouldn't even think of it as like it's a more it's a very black and white situation. Like I don't think it is saying like, oh yeah, having good people is a great thing. No, I think it's a very must thing. Without that, you're basically nothing, right? So you really have to optimize for great people, give them a great environment and a culture so they all can succeed, right? But it starts with like getting the right people. If you don't have that, then
And that's the culture you are building.
yes, that's the culture of value, right? Like ownership, be agile, grit, right? Like all of that is the foundation. You want every engineer to and every person in the company to behave that way.
Right. So according to Swapnil, there is no good or bad talent. There is a fit talent. There is a right talent. And he's saying one B talent gets in, you have very different kind of things evolving. And if you have one A talent coming in, the whole ecosystem equation changes. So it's a great advice for a lot of aspiring founders who are planning to start their next AI company in India or in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
Somewhere I was reading on your website, you are the people who love to see other people succeed. That you really ensure that all your customers do. How do you drive that within your team, that you make your customers succeed? Anything around that?
Yeah, so I think, one of the key things that we like to do is like voice of the customer, right? The biggest challenge that happens in a B2B company is your developers don't quite understand the customer because, hey, you're building for a customer service
They're
agent.
just coding.
I can't empathize with that. There's a lack of empathy, right? If I'm a B2C organization, if let's say I'm Swiggy, right? I'm an engineer working on a feature in the Swiggy app. I know how it will be used and I know what's the value and all of that. But if I'm building a feature in Observe platform, right, for my customer, right, it's just, I can't relate to it, right? So so you really have to do active work, right, through voice of the customer programs to make sure every person in the organization can empathize with the customer, can understand what is going in customer's head and can understand what their problems are, right? So you do that by making sure all your engineers, on a regular basis attend customer meetings, right? You do customer listening sessions where in our all hands we bring customers and they talk about, their pain points and what's working, what's not working, right? We have customer QBRs, right? We record them and we share with the India teams and listen to it, right? And now we are starting to think about, making our engineers to customer service and customer support, right? Maybe a few days a quarter, right? So you take an engineer, you say, you're a support engineer now for 2 days, go and do this.
The guys who are coding for you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Become support engineer, right?
Like how you go and visit contact center to understand the pain points.
Yeah, so now you become that, right? So you understand what is going in their world and what are the pain points, right? So you have to consciously drive programs so that every person in your organization, especially, the R&D teams, which are sometimes far away from the customer, like really empathize and understand the customer first. And so then whenever they're thinking about something, they always bring the customer perspective and not a technical perspective, basically.
No, absolutely. So by deploying Observe AI technology in your contact center, you can improve sales performance, operational efficiency, customer service and compliance. That's Observe AI for you. Thank you so much, Swapnil.
Thanks, Shambhu. Really.